In this tutorial, we're going to be exploring marketing methods, ways that we can advertise our products or services so that more people know about them and therefore can purchase them. Now, there's a range of different methods that companies use, and no company uses just one method. Have a little think about the last product or service that you saw being advertised that you decided you really wanted. Perhaps you've been bugging a parent or carer to buy it for you, or you're saving up for it. How did you know about this product? Where did you hear about it? How was it advertised? One of the most visual ways that a company can get hold of our attention is through our televisions. TV advertisements have been going on for a long time, and it's fair to say that they're very hard hitting and they are highly effective. Most of us spend a significant amount of our time each day watching the televisions and therefore the advertisements that are put on in between shows and films. They have our full attention when we are sat in front of our TVs. This is a positive. However, the negatives of TV advertising for a company is that it is a very expensive method of advertising. Not only to get the screen time, but even producing the adverts normally requires the use of expensive equipment and professional services that doesn't come cheap. TV advertisements doesn't tend to be something that small startup companies use. However, there is a cheaper alternative when looking at local TV. Local channels and television do offer a slightly cheaper service in terms of TV advertising. So this might be a potential for marketing for perhaps bigger companies who are starting to break through. Radio advertising is also a popular form of advertisement. It's generally cheaper than TV advertisements, however it lacks the visual impact. That being said, the use of music or jingles can be quite popular, and because of the repeating nature of radio advertising, it can help to grab the listener's attention. Again, radio advertising can be done on a local scale rather than a national scale, which could reduce the costs for smaller or start-up companies. Magazines are another option for advertising, especially those that are very specific, following particular themes. For example, fashion magazines for selling makeup or clothing, or even more specific, if you were designing wedding dresses, you can buy magazines that focus purely on wedding dresses. By advertising in these magazines, you know that you're going to get your products seen by your particular target market. However, glossy magazines can be expensive. Smaller, more local magazines are distributed in local areas. These normally are full solely of advertisements for services and products within that area. Whilst these might be seen great because they are reaching their demographic market, a lot of people discard these magazines and don't actually take the time to sit and read through them like they might a glossy magazine. Newspapers offer another way of advertising on either a local or national demographic. The other way of advertising within newspapers, aside from adverts, is in news stories. Perhaps you have a positive story to tell in relation to your business or service. By having this story reported on, you're effectively gaining free advertising for your business. Billboards are a great way of creating a hard-hitting, eye-catching advert for people on the go. The downside on this is that you can't really contain much information, as people are generally walking past or driving past the advert, so they won't have time to read too much information. You tend to see billboards advertising where certain products are existing, i.e. a franchise restaurant that happens to be around the corner, as this might act as a prompt for the customer to go directly to them. Social media is widely and more increasingly being used to advertise products or services. There are a huge range of platforms that people can use to advertise on social media, and they can do it in a range of ways. For example, these could be brightly coloured adverts that we see and read as we're scrolling through our social media platforms. They could be videos that grab our attention and we watch to see a service or good being demonstrated. Increasingly, we're seeing the use of influencers. Effectively, these stand in as people trying out products and giving us personal recommendations. Personal recommendations go a long way in the business world. We find it easier to trust a product or service if other people are able to tell us that it works well. Knowing how to create an advert is a highly skilled job and one that a lot of people make a living from. But there are some general points that you can take away. Look at these two adverts, both advertising the same event. Now it really depends on where the advert is going to be placed as to what information you'd include on it. Consider the billboard, for example. Too much written information would just get lost and be wasted. So billboards need to be visually impactful. The same can be said for social media posts. If it's just a graphical advert, it needs to be bright and eye-catching. There is so much traffic out there now on social media, so you need your advert to really stand out from the rest. Too much information just makes it look muddled and confused, but the use of bright colours and simple graphics can really help to grab someone's attention. Another benefit with social media is that we can include links to take us to pages or websites for more detailed information if we're interested. In contrast, the advert on the right is one that's been created to go into a glossy magazine. Although it's still visually impactful, if we'd used the bright colours as seen on the left in a glossy magazine, it would probably look far too garish and would put off the person reading it. So the whole theme and structure of the advert changes even though they're advertising the same event. This is something that a graphics designer needs to consider carefully when completing marketing for a business, for a service or goods.